This video is brought to you by Grandeur Warranty, your #1 online source for factory-backed extended warranties in the country.
We have two crossovers that are not the Honda CR-V or the Toyota RAV4.
That's right, Case. We have the Hyundai Tucson and the Nissan Rogue, and in today's video, we're gonna find out which one is better and if they are in fact better than the two best-selling cars in the segment. Now, obviously, style's gonna be subjective between these two cars, but we thought we'd point some things out. So, Case, walk me through this Tucson. What are we looking at here?
Well, one thing that's always been interesting about the design on this vehicle is the way that the headlights and running lights are integrated into the grille, so it kind of fades from the grille into the lighting on the front end. It's a unique look.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things I think that you either really like or really hate. I think you and I are in agreement it's a pretty attractive car, but I know producer Jen does not so much like all the creases and curves, and that continues along the side. Come with me here, Jen. What you're gonna notice is rather than just doing a normal door or a normal crease line down the side, we have these intersecting, almost triangular-like looks, which is pretty bold, and once again, one of those things that you're a big fan of, you're not a fan of.
Yeah, and it matches a lot of the other vehicles in Hyundai's lineup. They do several of these very distinctive body lines along the side. I think that it's a pretty sharp look. It definitely gives it some character.
Yeah, and then out back, we have these kind of shark teeth that extend downward from the horizontal light bar. And then, of course, being a modern crossover, they're gonna hide the exhaust and they're hidden way up underneath. But I do like kind of all of the materials. So we've got the white on this black, on this kind of gray. It's kind of an interesting look.
Yeah, there's a bit of contrast. Also cool the way that the Hyundai logo is built into the glass there on the back of the hatch.
So as a whole, I think the Tucson's a pretty attractive car. Compared to the Hyundai, the Nissan is a much more conventional looking car.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe any of the styling here as a major fashion risk.
But I also think that this more basic design is gonna appeal to a wider audience that wants something that just kind of blends in with the crowd, that, you know, maybe looks nice, but not too edgy. Now, the front end of this Nissan is dominated by this black and chrome grille, and we do have the stacked headlights with the turn signals above, and of course, they've gone full LED.
And we have a pretty sharp wheel design, a little bit of contrast in there between some darker paint on the wheels and some polished elements. Along the side, nothing too major. It is kind of interesting though. We do have two shark fins up top, so I wonder if it gets really good signal for the radio.
Darn straight, that's one more shark fin than the Hyundai, so if you want to go swimming, you got to take the Rogue. They do paint the black A-pillar, so it kind of hides the roofline here, and then out back, you know, pretty traditional rear end once again. We've got the platinum badging for this top trim version. They hide the exhaust once again, and you do have more piano black out toward the rear. But between the two of them, which do you think has a better design, Case?
I would say that I like some of the funky out there design elements on the Hyundai just because it separates it a little bit more from other crossovers on the market.
The eagle-eyed viewers out there might notice something interesting about this Hyundai. This is actually the hybrid version of this car.
Yeah, so it's not the plug-in hybrid that you can get, but it being a hybrid, it does have a couple perks. For one, we've got 231 horsepower, 271 pound-feet of torque, which especially on the torque side of things is pretty decent.
That's really, really decent. And let's see what that acceleration is like. We're at this little yield sign here. And then I'm gonna go full throttle with the 8-track all-wheel drive system. Okay, not bad.
No, it's not neck snapping, but it's decent. The other thing that I like here in the Tucson is that we have a 6-speed automatic.
Yeah, and it's a really quiet, refined powertrain when you consider there's a lot going on here, right? You've got electric motors, you've got a 4-cylinder turbo with 6 gears, but it all kind of seamlessly blends into just a really comfortable, refined driving experience.
Yeah, and because this is a hybrid, we've got a 35 mpg combined fuel economy rating, which for a vehicle of the size, not bad.
Now here's the thing, you're probably thinking, well, that's not a fair comparison because the Nissan doesn't come in a hybrid, and you are correct. However, when you look at the price, I'll give you a little bit of spoilers, even a loaded hybrid Tucson is going to be less than a loaded non-hybrid Rogue, which is kind of revealing. But from a driving experience, listen, it's not sporty or engaging or makes you want to drive fast. There is a couple of different drive modes, a snow, a my drive, an eco, and a sport. But I do think it actually drives a little bit better and a little bit more exciting than like the RAV4 hybrid.
In any of these vehicles, I like it when we do have an automatic transmission instead of a CVT. That improves the experience from a powertrain perspective. aside from that, there's nothing about driving this Tucson that really jumps out at you in any huge way. It's a pretty comfortable, easy vehicle to drive, good visibility, nothing too crazy.
I do want to give them credit on one other thing, the 10-year warranty that Hyundai offers.
Yeah.
So it's a really nice driving car. If you are looking at buying a Tucson or Rogue and you want that extra peace of mind in the long term, be sure to check out Grainger Warranty. Grainger Warranty works with a whole bunch of brands, and you can check them out in the link below. So we're in the Nissan now, Case, and walk me through the horsepower and torque on this bad boy.
We've got 201 horsepower, so it's down a little bit on horsepower, 225 pound-feet of torque, so it's also down pretty significantly on torque, and we have a CVT here.
Yeah, the powertrain in this car is not it compared to the Hyundai. It's better than old Rogues that were naturally aspirated, where we live at a mile above sea level. It's great having that turbo power to that 1.5.
Yeah.
And I do have to give them credit for making this engine virtually silent, even when you're under full throttle, but you still get that kind of rubber band effect of the CVT and the turbo comparison. Like there, it finally gives you kind of a push forward.
Yeah, so it's not the most linear power delivery. Also, as far as fuel economy goes, this car is rated at an EPA combined 31 mpg, so 4 mpg less than what we saw in the Tucson.
Yeah, that's true. So Case, we're inside this Hyundai. Walk us through the interior here.
For one, as far as appearance goes, it's very sleek, very modern. They use quite a few pretty decent materials. I really like the steering wheel design, looks pretty sharp. And then in front of you, there's a 12.3-inch instrument cluster. In the center of the dash, there's another 12.3-inch screen, pretty high resolution and pretty responsive. And then below that, we do have a few hard buttons, but touch-sensitive climate controls.
Yeah, so I like that we've got both volume and tune advanced knobs, which is great, along with map and search shortcuts. But the actual, as we mentioned, climate controls are going to be in this little panel here, which can be a little fussy. Now, Case, the Hyundai does have ventilated seats, which the Nissan doesn't have even in that Platinum trim. But one area I am going to give the advantage to the Nissan is the actual screen usability. Now, Hyundai has kind of this panel setup, which is just very busy, and sometimes it can be hard to find exactly what you're looking for. There's just a lot of information kind of blasting you in the face at any given time, so that's going to be a little bit of a miss for me. But apart from that, it's a really cool interior.
Yeah, and there are actually a lot of similarities between some of the features in here. So we've got the addition of ventilated seats, but both of these have heated seats and heated steering wheels, which is nice. They both have heads-up displays. They both, funny enough, have Bose audio systems. But Tommy, what do you think of the drive selector on this?
Yeah, the Hyundai system's kind of funky. You've got this little branch that extends out of the column. Some would call this a column shift.
Yeah, in a different kind of way.
And then you twist the end of it to actually put it in gear. It's a little weird at first, but you get used to it pretty quickly. And then I really like what they've done with the center console with the wireless charger, easily accessible. They don't try to hide your phone. And then this big space in front of the wireless charger, which is great for odds and ends. So it's a very usable interior. I think that the seats are better in the Rogue compared to the Tucson. These are a little bit firm, and they've got this kind of weird little extrusion at the top part of the seat. But apart from that, it's a relatively comfortable and relatively usable space.
Yeah, and with a very big sunroof up top.
Hey, oh, look at that. Good stuff. Oh, Case, it opens.
Look how big it opens too.
Look at that.
That makes this interior very airy and really a nice place to sit.
So Case, that kind of more toned down design applies to the interior as well when you look at these two cars.
Yeah, I would say overall it's a more traditional setup. We do have a more traditional shifter here in the center of the console. It's also not a floating design like what's in the Hyundai, so it's a more traditional center console layout.
Yeah, and this screen, also 12.3 inches. Actually, every screen you'll see in this video is 12.3 inches. That's the new kind of standard now. I think that this is actually a little easier to use, and I really like the colors that they've incorporated. It's just kind of bright and poppy and looks really good. And you'll also find that the navigation system is powered by Google now, which is just simply the best nav in the industry.
Yeah, that's really nice. We've also got some nice hard buttons for some of the screen controls that you're going to use more often, like your skip forward, back, and volume. We also have more hard buttons here for the climate, which is nice. We've also got a heated steering wheel and heated seats, but like you said, no ventilated front seats.
Which, considering the price, which we'll talk about at the end, is a really, really big mess. The wireless charger is located down here in front of the shifter. It's a little bit harder to access than what you'll find in the Hyundai, and then USB-C ports here as well. Steering wheel, once again, a much more basic design than what the Tucson has. Digital cluster is very clear and easy to use. I think that this is a more functional interior than the Hyundai, but I like how airy and open the Tucson interior feels.
Yeah, that being said though, we do still have a very sizable window shade and sunroof up here at the top, although I wouldn't say quite as big.
Also have a really nice set of 360-degree cameras in this Rogue as well, which are quite high definition, so Nissan has really upped their camera game here.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Now, from a comfort standpoint, I think that the Nissan is a little bit softer, a little bit squishier, and the ride just is a little bit more to my liking because I'm an old man. From a tech standpoint, though, this Hyundai is pretty much everything you'd want from driver assistance standpoints.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of tech here. You've even got a heads-up display. Everything that you would want in one of these vehicles. All of these vehicles these days are coming with a pretty extensive suite of driver assistance technology, so there's a lot of safety features and everything you would hope to find.
Yeah, adaptive cruise control, lane centering, blind spot monitoring, cross traffic alert, all that's going to be in this Hyundai. One area I do once again want to give Nissan the advantage a little bit is in ride comfort and especially seat comfort. If all you care about in your midsize crossover is road trip ability, I actually think that this is the best in class. These kind of diamond stitched seats and the quietness of this cabin make it a really good road tripper.
Yeah, the seats are great. The suspension is plush. This is definitely a very comfortable vehicle to your point and wouldn't be a difficult one to do any mileage of road trip in.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you want the most fun to drive in this segment, it's definitely not it. Personally, I think like the plug-in hybrid RAV4 with that 300 horsepower crazy powertrain is the most fun.
It's pretty quick.
But this is definitely up there with the most comfortable with these seats especially. Excited to see what the new Volkswagen Tiguan is like. And then when it comes to safety, it's pretty on par with what we're going to find in the Hyundai, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, a lot of features, also a heads-up display, so they're pretty similarly equipped in that sense.
I mean, these cars really do go head-to-head in a lot of ways. We talked about both have the same 12.3-inch size screens. They both also use Bose audio, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, absolutely. This one having a 360 camera view, though, is a nice feature.
That is a nice feature. That's definitely an advantage for the Nissan. So, hopping into the back seat of the Hyundai, what do we think, Case?
It's not bad. Our space is good, my headroom just fine, and our leg room not bad either.
Yeah, really decent. We've got some air vents, but no way to adjust the actual temperature back here.
That's true. We don't have our own climate controls, but we do have 2 USB-C ports, and these outboard seats are heated as well.
This is pretty good. So I think from a space and comfort standpoint, it's really quite good back here, and we even got a little bit of recline.
Not bad.
All right, my dude. Rear seat space, what do we think?
I would say the space is pretty similar. Similar headroom, similar leg room. We have vents back here as well, but one nice thing in the back of the Rogue is that we have our own climate control.
That's pretty cool. We also have heated seats, just like the Hyundai, and we have the ubiquitous peasant blockers that you're gonna find in a lot of other cars back here as well. So I think rear seat space, pretty comparable. What about recline? Let's give it a go. Where's the recline? Not really. Kind of get one position.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good.
Yeah, and we also have USB-Cs back here, so pretty similar in a lot of ways.
All right, Case, let's see what's in the trunk.
Yeah, for one, we do have a power lift gate, so that's one of the features that you get on this high-end Hyundai Tucson. And then if I pull this lever here, we can fold down the seats. They don't go quite 100% flat. Maybe if you push them down a little bit, they'll definitely go a bit further, but I wouldn't say totally flat. If you leave the seats up, got 41 cubic feet of space. With them folded down, 80 cubic feet. And we do have some additional storage underneath.
Yeah, actually not bad, but I don't see a spare tire. Instead, I do think they give you a little tire mobility kit. So that's one thing I wish that Hyundai would offer. However, if you are looking at using this Tucson as a camping machine, there is a little 12-volt, 180-watt socket back here.
Like the Tucson, this Rogue Platinum has a power lift gate. And as we look into the back here, One thing that does put it a step below the Tucson is the fact that with the seats up, we've got 37 cubic feet of space, so a little bit less. And even with the seat folded down, it's 74 cubic feet of space, so a little bit under what you get in the Hyundai.
That's right, Case. Now, there are a couple of cool things back here. You got these little floor bottoms that are movable and adjustable, and it does have a spare tire, which is a big win with a sub back there, a Bose sub. So it's not a full-size spare, but it's better than what the Hyundai offers, and I think that is definitely worth recognizing. But look, the trunk in general is less usable than the Tucson.
For all of the areas in which the Nissan fell short of the Hyundai, you could excuse it if this was less expensive, but interestingly enough, the Hyundai is actually over $5,000 less in MSRP.
Yeah, so we're looking at $43,300 for that Hyundai and over $48,000 for this Nissan. And while the Nissan does have a better infotainment system and is perhaps a little bit more comfortable on the road, for everything else, I think the Hyundai is a clear winner.
Absolutely. So if you're shopping between these two, this would be our pick, hands down.
Guys, let us know what you think in the comment section below. This has been Tommy
And Case.
and Jen behind the camera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. Head over to alltfl.com.
You guys love car and trucks? Well, I've got 3 great podcasts that you will enjoy listening to because we are deep into cars and trucks. And talking about trucks, right here is my man Andre and Case working on the next episode of Talking Trucks, where they delve deep into everything that is truckish, including breaking truck news, talking about the different models that are coming up, and of course, tearing down the world of trucks as only Andre and Case know how to do. But if trucks are not your thing and cars are sort of your thing, check out Carish, our podcast that is sort of car adjacent with Jen and Mary being the ish part of Carish. And finally, Tommy and myself talk all about cars at TFL's Car Chat, where we look into the newest models, talk about what's happening in the world of cars, break down the latest news. All 3 of these podcasts are available wherever you get your podcasts, so check them out. I think you'll really enjoy them.